Well, I mean, that's a obviously big question. We are more interested in the urban communities in Russia, in particular the big industrial complexes and what's happening to the cities, built on permafrost. And there are lots of interesting problems. Some of them are related to socioeconomic conditions. Some of them are related to climate, but the permafrost is getting a little bit warmer in those industrial and urban complexes, and as a result, it undermines the structural stability of urban infrastructure, particularly housing. And what we are trying to look at basically what's happening, what will happen into the future, and more specifically, what are the adaptation and mitigation strategy can be developed to prevent that from happening. So obviously that's direct link to Arctic residents, because if you live in a big apartment block or apartment complex, right? So, and if it begins to crumble, that's obviously undermines your livelihood in many ways. Well, there are some technical and engineering solutions, but they're usually extremely costly, and those communities in Russia are struggling economically. In many ways, they probably should not be there. That's a legacy from the Soviet time, and now under the new sort of a semi-market economy in Russia, it needs to be addressed using again sort of a market principles, and it's getting less and less economically feasible. So even though some technical solution exists, they're usually prohibitively costly to implement on such a grand scale. But at least Russian government realized the problem, and we hope that in the near future it will start to develop some contingency plans and probably providing financial support to deal with those problems. It's interesting because those big, massive cities exist only in Russia. So in many ways, if you look at the other permafrost areas, let's say of North America, that's a more sort of a private single residency housings and indigenous population, and obviously those communities are struggling too, and some of them have to be relocated in Alaska due to either accelerated coastal erosion or thermokarsting or kind of a developing of those big depressions on the towns due to permafrost thawing. But obviously the scale of problems is much smaller, simply because those communities are tiny compared to what they have in Russia.